don't have the YouTube pulled up on my.
Doesn't look like it.
Cool.
We're good.
We're live.
Yeah.
We are live for the first Spinnin Backfist MMA show of 2023. It is Robbie, it is Big Ev, and JackMac will be joining us in just a moment. He was setting up, pushing us live. We are kind of without a TV today, so we're going to pull up comments on our phones. If you see us looking at our phones, we're reading your comments. Join the chat, join the live chat. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being there last year, into next year. It's already been a crazy year for MMA news.
I know.
Just a few days into the year.
I don't want to set the tone for the year already, but we're off to a rough start.
Real rough. The roughest start you could pretty much imagine.
Feels like everything is just. It feels like we're back in COVID days when everything's getting canceled.
Just fights falling apart.
Cards falling
out
apart
last minute.
I mean, the stories and the headlines are not
Kevin
good. They're not the
Gastelum
stuff
has
we
a
want to be
hole in
talking
his
about.
face.
It was like scary, like staff.
No, I know.
With the thing on here and oh my god, that was gross.
There's a hole. There's a hole in his face.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what McGregor said. He was like, "You got to clean your." Clean your
fucking
mats.
McGregor, what's my guy doing on Twitter?
And he was just liking videos of dudes just ripping loads.
If you didn't see that, yeah, literally, Conor McGregor this morning. I don't know if he knows his likes are public. I mean, listen, no, he know his finger slipped, right? His finger slipped. As the director of support, got to say, finger slipped. He's liking videos of dudes shooting loads, just dudes by themselves. I think it's a dude, but I didn't watch the video. I saw a screenshot that Lee sent us.
Yeah, it's a dude just cranking a load into the camera.
Oh, that he wasn't like with the girl.
No, he was just straight jerking his cock.
Wow.
Yeah, just jerking his dick.
So that's how we're starting 2023.
See, I thought
McGregor
I thought the McGregor
dicks.
PR team would have taken them.
Still there.
The troll route.
It's still there.
That it was a troll. What do you mean?
Yeah, like he just did. Like he just fucking around.
We could say that. We could say love is love. We could say it's 2023
well, that's
now.
why I would say just fucking around. Like, hey,
This is
just goofing with the bros.
I didn't know how to react. I mean, I was flustered.
It's startling.
It's a flustering
startling.
situation.
It's startling because Lee put in the group chat was like, and I saw the tweet that he posted on Spinning Backfist of like, oh, like McGregor, like what are you doing?
When did
I went and just looked. So I went and just looked at his likes, and I was like, oh my god.
No, it's still there.
10:23 a.m. too. Like you're still kind of waking up, getting yourself settled for the day.
I was stunned.
And the screenshot is that guy. Like Lee got it at the perfect moment where I think he's mid-load shooting. And
like you said, I just watched it. He
jacked
shot
off into the camera.
Shocking.
I thought it was like a screenshot and like you couldn't see the girl on the video. It was
no girl.
Porn. No, it was just a guy
pleasing himself.
Yeah, which hey, I mean, I guess who knows?
So I mean,
you can't delete your likes, right?
you gotta unlike things.
I'm sure. Yeah, I think you can unlike it. I would imagine, and it would go off your likes. Like
I think so.
I went through the rest of his likes, no other stuff like that. Just one video.
The other thing too is this has happened before. Ted Cruz, other celebrities,
Doc
where
Rivers.
You'll have something porn in the likes. Personally, I've never your finger doesn't slip on something you're not looking for, right? Like you have
that wouldn't pop up.
Just pop up. That's what I'm saying.
Only if someone else you follow liked it, maybe.
Would be the only someone you follow or someone you follow follows this person. Maybe
I feel like the porn thing on Twitter,
but then the account he liked it from, bro goals as fuck. I don't have any mutual followers, so it's not like Connor is following it, and then it's.
Is bro goals as fuck? Is that just men?
It's literally just dudes.
Yeah, I can't. I scrolled down a little bit. It appears
it appears to be just men jerking off. Is what
listen. That's
bro
as far
goals
as we need to research.
Just guys being dudes, I guess.
You see, that would be a joke he would have made in the Habib, lead up, oh, you follow that account,
the video with all of them in the bathtub.
In the bathtub, yeah,
yeah. That picture will live on forever.
Michael Greer sent that in our one of my group chats this past weekend. It was like the boys this weekend. It's just like, all right,
just taking a bath together.
Yeah. I was like, all right, dude.
And then already the people in the comments, I think, want us to address Dana. I think it's good to address right off the bat. So, I don't know what you expect us to say at this point necessarily, other than horrible video. Never put your hands on a woman.
Yeah.
We're not defending that whatsoever. I think people were tweeting me how are you going to defend your boy Dana this time? Not going to defend it. Dana's not defending it. Nobody's
Did-
defending it.
Did you guys get a lot of tweets like, "Oh, you still haven't addressed this"?
So many tweets. I wrote a blog on it the
I
second
know
it
you
happened.
did. You wrote a blog about it immediately. I'm sure Ev did too. Like, it's just what do you want us to say? Obviously awful. And Dana said
Horrendous.
he shouldn't have done it. And of course, like, it's bad. And then obviously it's just as bad that his new league
The
is
power
coming out on
slap.
TV. It's called
ironic
Power
'cause,
Slap.
yeah,
the,
not,
the optics of that, which I think, so we heard that was canceled at one point. There was rumors that TBS pulled it. I saw he put up a promo for it. It seems they've taken his name off of it.
I believe they took his name off it and moved it back a week.
Yeah.
Because it literally was like how Contender Series, it was like Dana White's Slap League.
Power Slap.
So now
League.
it's just like the
The
Power
optics
Slap
were
League.
bad. Yeah.
And yeah, I think it moves back. Like the opening episode got moved back a week or two.
Awful timing, but like there's never a good timing to do what
No,
he
the
did.
whole
So
thing's
it's
awful.
like,
The whole thing's all. And that you got the people taking victory laps on Dana that hate Dana. And
yeah.
it's like,
Oh, Helwani.
Helwani, what?
He retweeted. I don't care.
saw.
I don't care if your blog publication had 2 followers or 2 million followers. He was retweeting that headline.
if you wrote
saying
a
Dana
headline,
White slapped his wife.
yes,
he was retweeting
he
it.
was retweeting it. The thing about taking the victory lap is I'm sure some people will roll their eyes at me and say this is me being a Dana White defender, nut hugger, whatever. I do think like the family is hurt in this situation. It's not just a Dana White, something bad happened to Dana White and only Dana White. It's like his kids had to watch that.
Yeah.
His wife was very heavily involved in that, obviously. So it's like taking the victory lap on that felt weird. It just felt grimy. I understood people were going to do it. I predicted it.
Helwani's, but Dana
Yeah,
said
he-
some awful things about Helwani
Yeah.
too.
Helwani, and I will even in his little like he obviously retweeted everything about it, but even in his little like I watched his little kind of like addressing of it on a show.
Yeah.
He didn't go full like victory lap like addressing. The
No.
show.
I saw some of it too.
He more just took it as like, hey, like I've told you this guy's an asshole, blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Like he didn't really take the route of like I'm not victory lapping a woman getting slapped. in the
No,
face.
totally. And he wasn't even like who I was referencing. It was more like just people tweeting me still every day, like, what about Dana? What about this? What about that? The daily day-to-day thing. I don't know what you want me to say. Yesterday,
people
today,
will reply like obviously
horrible.
you get it literally 1,000 times more than me, but I'll tweet out like picks for a college football game and be like, what do you think about the Dana White slap? I was like,
there's only one thing to think about.
Yeah,
it.
like,
Same
what?
thing Dana White thinks about it. Unacceptable.
and then who was Terrence McKinney?
No,
Or no,
Jamal
it was
Hill
Hill when
got in some
there were a
trouble
couple
about it.
fighters. Sean O'Malley, I think, defended him. See, as a fighter, I don't necessarily understand that. It's like Dana White's not defending it. Why do you step in like just on that? Even if you feel that way, I think it's smart to keep your mouth shut.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I was seeing even Johnny Eblin, our friend of the show, was talking about it on his it was on Instagram because he tweeted something, or he didn't tweet, he posted on Instagram something about it, and then people were just going, well, I believe replied to a comment where this kind of the elephant room we haven't like said, but people have been. There's been some MMA fans out there, some hardcore Dana fans, UFC fans that are like, oh, like she hit him first, blah blah blah. What that's been kind of like the narrative that other people are trying to spin. I think that's what some of the fighters have been trying to spin. And I saw Eblin get into a little thing about it where a bunch of people in the comments were basically just calling him like a simp for being like, just don't hit her. I know it's a weird world.
That's
I was
crazy.
like, because he was kind of like,
Oh, they got mad at Eblin for saying
Eblin,
don't hit her.
he
Like-
replied to it to being like, just
Doesn't
you have
matter.
to walk away. Like
Yeah.
you just can't like. There's other ways you can handle it besides just like us hitting her back.
Especially
And it was like crazy because there were so many comments just being like, oh, like I don't think you understand. He's like, no, I've seen
Like
the
you're
video.
a white knight.
I fully He's like, no, like I've seen the video. I understand.
I said in my blog,
Very
I don't
clearly.
care if the girl hits you with like a punch that makes Francis Ngannou's look weak. Like you just walk away. I
Yeah,
don't
no,
care if
you
she's
have
running
to.
knees you.
And that's
Just
what
walk away.
That's what Dana said himself.
Yeah.
That's what he should.
He knows he fucked up. He knows it's gonna stick with him for life.
Yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, it's tough when people are pulling up your own quotes. I mean, he said it himself.
Yeah.
Like, he has his own quote from it was like 2014, I think, being like, "You never come back from that."
Yeah.
And then here he is in that spot. So he gets it. That's even what Ariel said too. Ariel was like, he is not defending it.
Yeah.
So he even was like being unbiased a little bit and being like, hey, like he at least was like handling it correctly.
Agreed.
So I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
So that's crazy. And then days later, Phil Baroni murders his girlfriend in Mexico. Former UFC fighter. Some people have referred to him as Mike Perry before Mike Perry. And I think that's a good comparison, but also Mike Perry, better fighter than Phil Baroni, I think, ever was. And like a little less crazy.
To our knowledge, hasn't killed his
which
girlfriend.
is crazy. Yeah. To say that Mike Perry's like less crazy than anyone, but yeah, Phil Baroni, details are horrific. It seems like he's definitely the killer, definitely going to spend 30 to 50 years in a Mexican prison.
Jeez. Which is like a lifetime in any other prison, I'm sure.
And it seems like a lot of people that knew him, Josh Barnett was one of the people that tweeted knew him for 20 years. I saw someone that worked with Nate Diaz, filmed for him for a while, tweeted like everyone seemed not surprised, which is always like
that's
tough.
scary. Yeah.
So the not surprised thing is almost like people are like, oh, they'll say like brain injury, CTE. But if you were with him for years in the past and you're not surprised by it, you know, some people are just wired in a truly psychopathic way.
Yeah.
And do awful things like that. I mean, that's the worst thing you could do is murder somebody, murder your girlfriend. But man, that is scary to hear, like not surprised. Because
crazy.
Even when you hear so I saw some people that like knew the Idaho killer. They were like, "Oh, I didn't expect this," and you hear that about some people like that. But I mean, I guess that's kind of like, yeah, it's an unfortunate
Apparently
reality.
The past few years, he went down like a bad path. People were saying like I think he was in Mexico because there was a warrant for his arrest in America.
No, that's awful.
Yeah, tailspin, obviously, but that's how the year started. Those two were like the two,
and then
big headline stories of the year, and then the card started falling apart. The card this weekend. We had a main event like start falling apart because of Gastelum and that
Strickland saving the day. Crazy.
Strickland.
I think this is the first fight ever headline back-to-back cards.
Oh, that makes because like when else could that possibly happen?
He headlined the last card.
You need a break too, like in the action. But yeah, good on Strickland for stepping in.
We were talking about it. He's a dog, man.
It truly may be a better fight.
I think it might be. I don't know. Like, see, I'm such a Gastelum fan. I feel like, and I think fans of him, like, I think if you're like an MA fan, you're a fan of his. Like, he's in a lot of great fights, and I think it's like we've been yearning for that. Like, where was that Gastelum who like had Izzy on his heels?
Yeah.
Like where, like I feel like since then he just had some unfortunate breaks. Like the
Darren Till fight,
which a lot of people thought he won. That was really close.
It was close, but it was also not a great performance.
Yeah, not a great fight. Then he has what was it, Hermanson? He got heel hooked in like a minute, which was kind of like a fluke. Like I think he's much better striker than Hermanson. I think, even though Hermanson's improved a lot, so I give him credit. But I think at that time, at least, Gastelum I thought was going to win.
Yeah,
he got heel hooked quickly. Then he's taking some like last minute fights. Like he fought Whitaker. The good fight, but clearly didn't win. He fought Cannonier, like good fight, didn't win.
Yep.
So he's lost to like the best guys, but he's in kind of like this weird spot where he was like at the top, and then now he's kind of like lost some of those fights. So he's fallen his way, where it almost felt like it was scary as a fan of his. It almost felt like if he lost this one, he was going borderline out of the rankings. Like who knows, like with the UFC.
Yeah, I was going to
say
a
weird spot.
Like, we're talking PFL signings, so we could talk about that as well, the Jake Paul thing, but. He would be like, if he's out of the UFC, what a big name for them to get.
He would almost be like, maybe I just have too much faith in him because he's always someone too that people have always thought he should have been like a welterweight, that he doesn't like cut enough. Like obviously he's like he's a 5'9" middleweight, which is crazy that he had as much success as he had. But I don't know. I just feel like I hope he wouldn't get cut by the UFC. Like, obviously, if he was gonna lose to Imavov, who I think is
paid
very
a lot
good,
though. You know
that's part of it.
Yeah.
That's what happens with a lot of these guys. They get paid a lot. You're on a big losing streak.
Yep.
But he's also, I think he's weirdly like not that old.
How old do you think he is?
I think even though he's been in the UFC a long time, because when he won the Ultimate Fighter, I think he was only like 21. I think he's like 30.
You know what I get, by the way, just a side note about Gastelum? Every time he fights, I get Jeff D. Lowe tweets. People are like, he looks like Jeff D. Lowe.
He does.
Yeah, like a Mexican.
You're right. He's 31.
I knew it because when in the Ultimate Fighter, he was so young.
Yeah, that's crazy.
When he beat Uriah, that was crazy.
That's definitely a Jeff D. Lowe as a UFC fighter.
Oh, yeah.
That's like Jeff D. Lowe with one of those handsome AI filters or something.
Oh, yeah. You're like
that's
alpha Jeff D. Lowe. Not that he's not an alpha, but you know what I mean? Like
Jeff D. Lowe, his mom's
take your lunch money.
Yes.
Jeff D. Lowe, yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Jeff D. Perez.
But I think speaking of PFL, we should talk. Jake Paul signs with PFL, says he's signing to fight and promote the league. I think we're all a bit skeptical on the fight, believe it when we see it thing. But he also says he offered Nate Diaz a 2-fight contract. The first would be in boxing. Then 6 months later, they fight in the PFL, the super fight division, where the revenue share would be 50-50. Fighters get some, PFL gets some.
I think the first fight would be that way. No,
the first fight would be boxing. Second fight would be MMA.
but I'm saying, but would the boxing be under the PFL label though, or would it be
I don't
under
know.
like a different?
I'm not sure about that. Like maybe a PFL Jake
Because
Paul
now that he's like
promotion,
signed to the
co-promoter,
PFL,
whatever.
that's like it seems like that that's where he's at.
But doesn't he still have a Showtime contract for boxing?
I think it was over.
Oh, is it?
I could be wrong. I think it ended. I
Okay.
thought at least.
Oh yeah, so
he'll box
So
under the PFL banner, you think?
I don't know. That's kind
Oh.
of what I was asking. 'Cause
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I
about
thought
that.
that's
hadn't
kind
thought
of what
about
he
that.
would do. Because if they do pay per view, they could do like they could kind of do what one does.
Yeah.
And do both. Like
And-
basically do like MMA card, and then the main event's just like Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul boxing.
Also, I was talking to Large about this, and I saw some people suggesting it on Twitter as well. I'm hesitant to believe that he's going to fight MMA. Like
I am too. I mean, how can you not be? I mean,
him saying I'm signing to fight could have been to get eyes on the initial announcement, which is smart.
Mhm.
But you look at like Aaron Pico, right? And his he lost his Bellator debut to someone they lined up to be a complete can to him because he just got caught in a guillotine. Like that, sometimes that happens in MMA. I would be shocked if Jake Paul like put that risk up, and I'd respect him if he did. What if they did a boxing match in the cage, 4-ounce gloves? Like that's his intro. I'd be a little intrigued in that.
I'd be very intrigued with that as well. Like that'd be really fascinating.
but
My thing with Jake Paul is that the more I'm thinking about it, I think he, like, especially if he beat Nate Diaz in a boxing match, if you think about it, even if he did MMA and lost, you think people would respect that? That he at least like he would
Oh,
be the
yeah.
first one. Obviously, people are going to say he's not like a real boxer, what, blah blah blah, whatever. But if he legitimately got in the cage with Nate Diaz, even if say he got guillotined or rear naked choked in like the first round, like you at least you got in there and you did something that no other boxer was ever willing to do.
100%.
Not even close. So
And
I
I
mean,
think on the flip side, if you're Nate Diaz, I think it's a brilliant plan for you because even if you get knocked out in the
you
boxing
get your
fight,
revenge. Yeah,
you get your revenge. It's the last thing in people's minds. And Nate Diaz will have one fucking line at the press conference where he's like, "That wasn't a real fight, pussy." Fucking
Yep.
flex
And then
on
everyone's
people.
like,
and
Nate
everyone,
Diaz.
you know,
and
Nate
that'll be
Diaz
me
army.
like Nate.
Exactly. Like that'll be me too. So like he tweeted Nate Diaz when the announcement came out, just tweeted a screenshot of Risen, which I thought was interesting. Like
That's funny.
right after the announcement, he just tweeted a screenshot of Risen's logo.
That's
So I
funny
was like, I don't
shit.
know what that even means.
did he crop it?
No, it was just like look Google
Google image?
images. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
it's almost
just-
like the Paul Pierce emoji rocket.
Totally.
Remember that? And like the like
Took
I forget
the
what-
screenshot of it.
yeah, whatever year that was in that crazy NBA free agency. Just a screenshot. It's funny when you realize there's a lot of people like in that are older than us that just don't know how to like. He wouldn't know how to save that image off. Of
Well,
Google
it's like
Images.
Dana Beers posted his grandpa doesn't know how to like text messages. So he writes like grandpa liked your text.
He
and-
writes
and
it
sends
out.
that.
Now that's just
That's
perfect.
funny.
And it's
That's-
adorable.
and I
That's
would
like
never tell
old
my
people
grandpa.
being
Well,
adorable.
Well, that's like your grandpa. Like mine does too. He'll be like, "Hey, Ev, like it's grandpa," and I'm like, "I know.
Yeah.
I got your number saved." Like this is the 12th time we've texted.
It's
the
the
last time.
great.
what's that commercial like? Is it Progressive or it's like don't be your parents?
Yeah.
And then they were like, "What's wrong with this voicemail?" And the old people or the people that are becoming their parents are like, "Well, they didn't tell you what number to call back with." It's like, no.
don't
They
need
know they know what number to call back on.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the overall thoughts on
R.I.P.
Jake
to
with
Stephen
PFL.
Bonner or Bonner.
Bonner.
Stephen
yeah.
Bonner. Yeah, that was very sad. A lot of great memories of him fighting in the UFC. Obviously, the Forrest Griffin fight is what people point to. Forrest Griffin had some nice posts.
I
where
mean,
he
one
was
of when I heard it, I was like, that's one of the fights my friends told me to watch when I was in high school. When I was like, oh, I want to get into UFC. He's like, oh, watch this.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and I mean, I think Dana says it, and a lot of people say it. I put it on Spinning Backfist on social once I heard it. It's one of the most important fights in the history of the UFC.
Like
I mean,
saved the company, people say.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, obviously, there's like mega fights everyone thinks about, but that's one of those that's like, would it be here without that?
Yeah, because they were
You
in a
never
bad
know.
spot when that happened. Like,
Yeah.
if people don't know. I'm sure some people, most people probably do know, but the story goes that the UFC was doing very bad financially, as a last-ditch effort, they were like, let's put together a low-budget reality show, that show being The Ultimate Fighter. And the whole season was a success. Like, people loved The Ultimate Fighter. And then the big, like, all right,
The finale.
Is it really going to be worth the hype? Like, the finale was that fight. And, oh, my God, one of the greatest fights still. You'll go back and watch it, and it's just like a war. And that completely captivated all the fans that tuned in for the whole season, kept them around, and basically, like, kickstarted a new era of the UFC.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think, like, without that fight, the UFC literally might not be here.
Now, I've heard Dana tell the story a million times. But how, like, oh, like, the first fight was, like, Diego Sanchez, Kenny Florian. Diego Sanchez subs him, like, a minute. He's like, oh, this is horrible. Like, the fight sunk. Like, he finished him right away.
Yeah.
And then you got, like, one of the best fights of all time that he talked about how, like, the ratings, it was, like, one of those, and especially back in that time, before, like, pre-social media, he talked about how, like, throughout the fight, people would, like, calling your friends, like, the numbers just kept going up and up and up as the rounds went on.
They could, like, make a movie about that. That's something out of a movie scene. Like, the numbers keep going up, Dana. And he's like, what?
Who do you think plays Dana in a movie?
Oh, that's a great question. Like Russell Crowe, if he shaved his head and beard.
That's a good.
Like, you got to get someone.
You need somebody that's a good actor, because he's a unique character.
And
like, it's hard to play those guys
like
one of one
guys. You can't have like a short guy. You need a big guy.
Like,
he's got to look
in
good
the same
bald.
vein, like Gerard Butler, if he shaved his head and his beard. I picked two guys.
You're
that
better
are
with
iconic
actors
with
than
beards.
I'm awful with actors.
Yeah, I'm not great. I know Robbie's good with movies and stuff. I don't know.
Oh, there's this guy, Vincent D'Onofrio, who plays Kingpin in the Marvel series, and Kingpin is just a huge bald guy who wears a suit everywhere.
Nice.
So he might work. He's been in the Barstool office before.
Vin Diesel.
Vin? That'd be great.
That would be awesome.
Diego Sanchez, speaking of him, he's got a bare knuckle fight coming up, which I'm not looking forward to. I see that, and it truly makes me like sad. Like,
bare knuckle that's like,
it's a different game though.
It is different.
I mean, Michael Perry beat Michael Venom Page.
But what I
worry, like,
I don't even worry about the skill. I just worry about, like, Diego Sanchez shouldn't be getting hit.
You don't think he should be fighting anymore?
Yeah.
It's just tough with these guys, man, because a guy like him, you're like in that spot where, like, he was very good, but I don't know how much money he made. Where it's like how much, like,
point. And
like he's got to eat. He's got to eat still.
It's another one of those things where it's like you wish there was a system in place where the athletes could be taken care of better in retirement.
I hope eventually gets to this point where, so with like NFL, if you play, for example, like if you play a certain amount of years, you get a pension.
Yeah.
Like, I think the UFC there should be a point where if you fought a certain amount of fights in the UFC, you deserve like $100,000 a year, at least, like something you could like live, even like you're not gonna be rich, but you can like modestly like raise a family off of, like, you know what I mean? Like something like that.
That's something that would have to come with a union. I'm dumb when it comes to that shit, but I think
union would be that would be
right?
one of, like, if you have a union, that would be one of the biggest things.
Because I know the NFLPA, like I know like that's part. Will talks about it when he was here, like that, like playing year 10 is like a big deal.
Yeah,
like you see, it's like a significant pension after year 10, like for life.
Yeah,
pension, healthcare,
medical care,
and then like workers' rights. For UFC, it's not that big of a deal because UFC is not forcing guys to fight 4 or 5 times a year. But if they were, a union would be like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
unless the fighter specifically says it's okay, because that's like the basics behind unions. But unions are basically pretty much for like workers, like Jerry, that came in, that before that, to make sure that, like, what Jerry's job, he wasn't working 365 days a year because the big corporations telling him to do so. And if not, you're gonna get fired. It's like workers' rights. So it would be interesting to see how that would work with UFC, because I mean, it works with other league, like NFL, NBA, MLB. I don't know if it would ever happen. That'd be something that, like, a sports business guy would have to tell us about. A sports lawyer guy would have to tell us about.
And I know fighters, like retired fighters, have gotten frustrated at the UFC, kind of like picking and choosing who they take care of. Like Forrest Griffin, guy who job for life. They said
they pretty much just made him like manager of like the PI.
Manager of the PI. Now he's going to be a head catcher for the slap league. He's going to stand behind people and catch their heads when they fall. So it's.
I remember there was even big Liddell was like that too, where they talked about where in the Tito Chuck documentary that went basically when they sold it, he pretty much just like lost his job.
Yeah,
like Dana took care of him because he was the first like superstar of the UFC. He's like, a legitimate pioneer of like where the company is now, obviously. And pretty much once they sold, and it was like no longer like Zuffa.
Yeah.
Or is it still Zuffa? Once the Fertitos were gone, they made the sale. He pretty much like had this like cushy job and just kind of was like not.
He used to be at all the fights. You would see him.
He actually still comes a decent. I have noticed that he definitely comes less.
Yeah.
But he still does come. He used to come like to every fight.
Because I think he lives in Vegas. So when the fights are in Vegas, he's usually there.
Well, that's one thing too. If you pretty much the way the UFC set up, like if you want to get the most out of it, you have to live in Vegas.
Yeah.
If you can go train there for free and eat 3 meals a day for free.
Honestly, the same for like reporters. Like the Schmo lives in Vegas, and I saw he was with Strickland like the second he accepted the fight.
He's always an extreme couture. He interviews Strickland like once a week, I feel like, on YouTube.
Well, they have a great dynamic together.
Yeah, it's funny.
And Strickland just like talks out. Yeah.
Strickland just says like whatever he wants.
He's a content mind. Yeah.
Yeah, he just yeah, no.
He's a crazy guy. What else news-wise should we talk about before we get into the
Khabib looks like away from MMA.
Yeah, he said he want to coach.
Interesting timing, because he said he's not coaching Islam for the Volk fight, which is like, you would imagine, dude, you've been in MMA your entire life. Do 1 more month?
I was shocked by
that going to kill you?
I thought he would just be a guy that needs to be around it forever, even though like he's not like he coaches. You can tell he's not like trained. Like I'm sure he trains a little bit. Obviously, he's put on weight and stuff. But
our producer Tom was on the path with me this morning, and we were talking about Khabib, and I said I would love for Khabib to balloon up even more and get like a charity Khabib versus DC wrestling match for some kind of like flow grappling event. That would be tremendous.
That's funny.
But I think he'll be back.
Yeah, I would think so.
I don't know Khabib. I don't pretend to know him, but I think he'll be back.
Yeah, because I just think someone like him, like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean,
like he's been so involved.
Like when your kids get older.
I mean, I could see politics for sure.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, following in his father.
Magic said that.
He'd be the president.
Magic said that. Magic said that on Twitter. I think he definitely.
That's interesting.
I mean, he fits it perfectly. He also doesn't really have anything in his past. He kind of has a clean past.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have to like a McGregor getting into politics would be impossible. Habib, I would assume would be, and he just like operates like a politician. If you think about it,
he really does.
When he's all around, he's always smiling, shaking hands, and then maybe he could be. But I would say like he would be a fight manager, but then it'd be like getting into like Ali's shoes a little bit. So I don't think he'd do that. And if he said I'm going away from the fight game, why would he be a fight manager? He said he wants to focus on his businesses, which is like I think he does like supplements and stuff.
Oh.
At least from his Instagram.
Eagle FC, I thought was like his main thing, which now it's going to continue to run, but in different hands, obviously.
Which now Eagle FC without Habib.
Yeah, wasn't that the whole point?
Yeah, Eagle FC
Jorge
without
Masvidal,
Habib is
bare knuckle
very
without Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, it's very just like okay, like I mean, it's just another fight organization.
I cannot believe that he's not just doing one more fight with Islam. Does he want to just go out on like we won the title? That was the father plan. That was the goal. The protege has become the master.
Especially because he called out Volkanovski.
Yeah, he got on the mic afterwards like the promoter.
Like, yeah, we're going to his backyard, pound for pound, number 1 on the line. What do you say? And then they were like, "Oh, Islam, what do you think about that?"
Like, you coming?
And he's like, "Where is this small guy?"
Yeah,
he was a short guy. I can't see him.
yeah.
But that would be. It kind of stinks though. Like we won't be getting any more of those videos of Habib like in the fighters' gyms. Like
those videos were great when they're like, "Please send this guy back to Russia."
Yeah, Russia. Yeah. But maybe he just fell out of love with it. I don't know. It's probably
maybe he's burnt out. Maybe he's fucking tired of it. He's like, I want to go do something else and not
and he can come back
grapple every day. Yeah, exactly. Cejudo and Aljamain thrown off because Aljamain tore his bicep.
I guess what he's been saying is he's been dealing with it.
Okay.
And that's why he said after this fight, immediately after the Dillashaw fight, that he was going to take some time off because he wanted to finally get it healed. So I guess that's where he's at, where he kind of is like, I just fought twice, like pretty quickly together. Like,
yep.
Let me get a little time off.
Yeah.
But on the UFC, like someone like Aljo, they just aren't really going to care.
Yeah. And now we have the situation of what do you do there? We talked about it in the group chat. Do Cejudo,
I think this is
Sugar or You
You
do
do
Sugar,
Cheeto.
You do
Cheeto,
Sugar
2
Cheeto for
for the
interim
interim
belt.
title. I'm with
But
you.
isn't
I think the
Cheeto with
Cheeto
San-
fight's more
But
interesting.
isn't Cheeto Sanhagen
They're,
already
suppo-
on?
they're supposed to be, but that could change in
Yeah,
a
you
second.
could,
Yeah,
you
you're
could
right.
pull him
Like
out.
I
Jamal
legitimately
Hill,
think Sugar
Glover.
Cheeto could like main event a pay-per-view.
I think so.
100%.
too.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think
you're
I
right.
think they could.
They,
'Cause
they
I
had,
think-
like,
I
a
think Sugar-
genuinely good rivalry.
That's what I'm saying, and that's what I was saying to Lee in the group where I think Sugar has the star power, but I think Cheeto, like there's Sugar has enough star power in the look that people, as he gets bigger too, he'll gain haters.
Yep.
And those haters will see somebody like Cheeto and be like,
He's the
that's
guy.
That's
He's the
my
real
that's
deal.
my guy.
Yeah.
Because the more you see Cheeto, he is the most like real as fuck, like just like true like gangster guy from Ecuador. But he's also extremely likely he's a family man.
Yep.
He
His
has
story
a,
with his
he has
daughter,
a
the
daughter.
smile.
He has a daughter, yeah, who's had some like health issues that he's been like a very good dad and like a
Mhm.
good person. But and the Cage is a fucking killer.
Yeah.
And the performances he's been putting on are insane.
Bro,
Oh,
him,
no,
him
yeah.
breaking
Like
Dominic Cruz's
he's
face
just
with that kick
he's
this
just
year.
he just gets hit until he breaks you.
Yeah.
Like he's unbreakable, and then eventually he will break you.
I
Imagine
rewatched the Cruz
What he
finish.
did to
The
Rob
Font.
Font
Yeah.
and then to Cruz was insane
Crazy.
because Cruz and Font both look very good in those fights, and he just broke them.
Yeah. And I think Sugar is a lot better than he was in the first fight already.
I think
just
so,
from the
too.
Yan fight, like
And I think
having that
Cheeto is,
experience.
too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it so great.
I think that's an awesome
They're
fight.
just
And
such like different personalities.
like we talked about in the group chat, like Cejudo is an amazing fighter, can never take that away from him.
even a bigger name than
Bigger
Cheeto
name.
for sure.
He's corny though. Like
But
he's just and he
he's
gets
a bigger.
that.
It's I think Cejudo is the classic like he's the big name, but he doesn't like. I don't think he moves the needle in sense of like pay-per-view buys.
No, I don't think so.
Like just because people know, like there's some people that translate like that, and some people that don't, and I just don't think he's the guy who translates.
I wonder if how they would rank Cheeto versus Cejudo from a pay-per-view perspective.
Cheeto versus Cejudo. Or is
No,
it Sugar
like-
versus Cheeto.
No, Cheeto versus Cejudo in terms of just pay-per-view buys.
Oh,
like,
the two of them against each other.
No,
Oh.
yeah, like not in terms of fighting each other.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
one
Like if
versus
one
the
versus
other.
the
Like
other.
if
Yeah.
you ranked all the best, like McGregor's number one,
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Khabib's number two,
Masvidal,
Yeah,
Masvidal,
like Nate.
Adesanya.
Adesanya, all those up there, and Ngannou. But where does Cejudo rank against Cheeto? Because I think you'd put Sugar ahead of Cejudo for sure.
Wait,
Yes.
Because
way
he's
ahead.
a superstar.
Yes.
And also, this is something that they're trying to do with Patty. It'll be interesting to see if he gets this far. But Sugar has been built up on these pay-per-views slowly but surely, and now is the time.
Yeah.
So it's like I 100% agree. If Sugar can't pay-per-view or headline a pay-per-view, who can?
I mean, think about it like this. All right, so last year we had, or I guess yeah, it would have been last year. Like we had Chandler in his second fight in the UFC versus Charles, like pre this like insane run.
Yeah.
Like you think Sugar Cheeto is more pay-per-views than
100%.
that?
I think so.
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
Like that was Charles that was Charles bubbling. Like him winning that fight and others. Now he's like a superstar.
People weren't even giving him like that champion respect at that point. Like, not putting the respect on his name in the slightest. Like Sugar definitely has a dedicated fan base. And when you look at Cheeto versus Cejudo, I think a big part of it is the game of MMA moves so fast and they got so many fans over COVID that
Mhm.
genuinely like don't care about Cejudo because they
No.
weren't watching when he was fighting.
He
And I know
retired. He
that
retired at the very beginning of
good
COVID.
point.
it was only a couple of years ago,
Good point.
but
No, yeah.
the sport has grown tremendously since then, like exponentially. So I think people will care more for the guy who's been active, who they've gotten to see his journey. Like we said, the family stuff, the fighting stuff, all of it. He's been there the past couple of years.
And just like this has nothing to do with selling pay-per-views really, but stylistically a better, more entertaining
Yes.
fight in my opinion.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
You're going to see two guys that are going to slug it out in the feet. That's
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
And-
Cejudo's going
and
to try
it's
to
a
wrestle,
legit cool rivalry between two cool guys.
So
I
when
can't
we-
say that about Cejudo.
but that could be such a great fight. Like that could be a real trilogy fight.
Yeah.
100%.
Especially the
Oh,
first
I think
one
no
was,
matter
like,
what. I think no matter what
weird,
happens,
the way it went.
even
like-
even if Cheeto won, I think that's still Sugar's enough of a draw that if it's like a really good fight,
Yep.
that's a trilogy fight. Even if Sugar lost the first two.
Yeah. Because I mean, as long as Cheeto doesn't beat him via nerve damage again,
Yeah.
like people will say the first one was a bit of a fluke.
Yeah, yeah. He earned it though. Even as a huge Sugar fan, I mean, you kicked that nerve, like you got it. But
I totally agree.
we've seen it happen to other fights, like Anthony Smith did to Jimmy Crew. Like
Yep.
we've seen it happen. It's not like it's not like it was a one-off.
At this
thing
point,
in
it's
the
a
sport.
strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just hitting that right spot.
And if you fire off enough kicks, like and with the goal of hitting that, of course, not a fluke. I agree with that. But the Sugar fans can at least paint it that way for a trilogy, you know?
And I think we see it too as like the hardcore guys, like in the office. Like when Sugar fights, people are like, yo, like Marty texts me, like Trent, or like these people be like, yo, like Sugar's fighting this. Like Jerry be like, oh, like Sugar's fighting this weekend. Like you see that the casual fans, like really, even not even all people talk about as fans are young. We're talking about people in their like late 20s, 30s that are like, oh, like Sugar's fighting. Like even Dan, like Big Cat's like Sugar fights, and he's watching.
Yeah, always.
Like it's just, I think he's that much of a draw. Like it's like Jack said, it's time.
They built it up perfectly.
Like after him beating Jan, and even the people who were mad that he got the decision, when he showed he belonged to, it was a war.
Yep.
He checked so many boxes in that fight that I think now it's all right. Like he's ready.
Yeah.
He could be the main event of pay-per-view.
Yeah, and like even me, I was disappointed in that decision specifically from a gambling point of view, but I also was like, okay, there's an upside of this. Sugar is now a solidified superstar.
Yeah.
And he can, and it's great for this. He's great for the sport.
Yeah.
Like I know we're getting to a point where it's almost, but we even say it's great for the sport for sports like the NFL or leagues like the NFL and college football when like Tennessee gets good or something. But UFC is getting to a point where it's like you don't necessarily need someone good for the sport because it's so big.
Yeah.
But
always helps though.
Always helps, and Sugar's just he's the Nelk factor, and just him like. I just see random interviews of him on TikTok all the time, like him just not necessarily with Nelk, just with like random people. And he's just a content guy, which really helps.
Yeah, he gets how to do.
Yeah,
the social media era of content.
He streams Call of Duty like every day.
Yeah, no, he's just awesome. Yeah,
he has a video gaming apartment.
Yeah, just for his Twitch streams.
He's low key like rich as fuck.
Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah,
he's done these.
He put like three. He put like 3 of his boys in an apartment. Like a nice apartment in Arizona that's like by his house, and then he has one room that's like his room that's just like his gaming room.
And I love.
He has a sick pimped out golf cart that he like he drives. Oh, it's like not far from his house, like maybe like a mile. He like drives it over in this like sick like pimped out like green golf cart. He's nuts with the colors, like but they're sick.
Like the crazy
he is a colors guy. Yeah,
right now his Lamborghini is wrapped in pink and green.
The watermelon sugar.
Yeah, it's like watermelon sugar.
You see, I would like from a Lamborghini perspective, I would just want my Lambo to look like it came. But I mean, that's Sugar's thing.
He changes he changes the wrap to like what his like merch is.
Yeah.
Because for every fight he does like a new merch,
drops,
like in different colors.
He's a content god.
He wraps his Lambo to like what color it is.
Yeah.
He's got like a green Tesla.
That's great.
He's nuts.
We 10 minutes before Pick Central is about to start, and Ev will have to go hop on that. Do you want to break down the main event?
Yeah, we can talk about a few of the fights in the
I actually thought Strickland was going to be a bigger underdog in this fight.
It's really like a pick 'em.
I know.
It's going his way though.
I like Strickland in the fight, but I was like, oh, I can get him at plus 150. But now it's minus 120 Strickland, minus 130. Should be interesting. I mean, it's short notice, but also Strickland, how he trains is he only spars. He doesn't go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like he obviously goes to MMA gym, but it's not like he's like, lifting weights and whatnot.
Yeah.
He says all the time, he's like, no, the only thing I do is spar. I think Johnny Evelyn told us that. He was like, no, the only thing Strickland does is spar.
Which is crazy, but I actually don't think we're going to see like, a short, he's not going to look like he's a fighter on short notice. I think he's going to look like Sean Strickland.
And I think his cardio is going to be fine. Yeah. And it's at 205, so he doesn't have to cut that much weight. Imavov's great. It should be a great fight, but I lean Strickland. But I mean, like the price tag's a little much.
It's a pretty good card, by the way. Like
it is solid.
The overall card, like for being the first one in a couple weeks, I'm excited for.
Dan Igue's back.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. Him and Damon Jackson. That's a good fight.
And I
kind of like Damon Jackson. But
really?
It's
I
don't know.
Lee likes Ige.
I saw his write up, and I did appreciate. He's talking about how Dan Igue's takedown defense has been really good, which is a very like fair point if you want to bet him.
And Igue's Igue's competition that he's fought.
Insane.
He's been in there with some killers, dude. And Damon's good too, but like Ige,
Cater, Korean Zombie. Evlov.
Yep.
Which Evlov was impressive in that fight. He outstruck him.
I would recommend reading Lee's write-ups too if you guys follow him on Twitter. Very detailed, good write-ups he put out.
Yeah, and also those are that was great. I loved reading that. That was very good. I like Ige in that fight too. I'll probably be on Ige, but that's a really interesting fight. It's nice to see Ige back. Damon's great too. Was Damon?
He's been on a nice streak.
Damon beat
He's beat Sabatini recently.
Sabatini is the one I'm thinking about recently. That was great what he did to I mean, I like Sabatini as just a personal.
He ran through Sabatini.
But he ran through him. The Priscilla Cachoeira is back against Eubanks. I think fight doesn't go the distance there, under 2.5 rounds. I think somebody's getting killed there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's Priscilla KO or Eubanks ground and pound TKO.
Yeah. The rare under in a women's MMA fight.
Nick Aguirre is just legitimately one of us going in there. If you go and
so
look,
I was annoyed because I was gonna bet on the Bulgarian guy.
Yeah, me too. But he
pulled
if
out.
somebody wants to go look at Nick Aguirre's Tapology and the guys he fought leading up to the UFC, it's like Habib levels of trash cans in his first few fights. But hey, he'll probably go in there and just.
Well, that makes sense when a guy like Argueda's mine is 600.
Yeah.
In his last fight, he was plus 400.
Jimmy Flick 3-1
sneaky.
Is Charles Johnson what?
So Johnson's definitely a better striker.
Yeah.
Flick. People don't remember Flick. He's a little older. He was a Contender Series guy who came in off the Contender Series at the end of, I guess it would have been 2020, was it?
I think it was.
And he landed a crazy flying triangle.
Yeah.
He literally he's pretty much submission or boss. He's a great submission guy. And he gets off a Contender Series, does a flying triangle, ends up getting nominated for submission of the year.
Yeah.
And then just retires.
Yeah.
And then this is
he's back.
He's back. I think if you play him, you almost might as well play him by submission.
Submission, yeah.
Because that's how he's gonna win. Honestly, he's such a big dog. You could just play. He's plus 300 as an underdog. His submission probably isn't even that crazy.
Soriano Kopolov's a great fight.
I'm surprised Soriano.
We saw Soriano.
Yep.
Kopolov looked so good in his last fight.
I know.
He laid out. That was a great fight. He laid out to Chirico.
Soriano, but it's just
Soriano's a dog.
Yeah.
Kopolov is much taller and longer. I don't know if he's longer, actually. I think Soriano's sneaky his long arms, but
I like Caitlin
Kopolov's
Vieira.
definitely longer. I like Vieira, too. I'm surprised the line's that short.
I know that.
It almost made me
scares
pause.
me. Yeah.
Mine's 200.
Her minus 127 on the Barstool Sportsbook right now is just
I thought the same thing.
Also, by the way, guys, I guess they're down now, but I thought it was cool. Barstool had the futures up for
over who's going to hold the belt.
Who's going to hold the belt on 12/30 on December 31st this year. There was I think they probably took it down now because there's injuries, whatnot, but they had it over Christmas and stuff. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I know I'm not going to say the name, but some of our competitors did that. But it was cool to see Barstool doing it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember when I think Lee posted, there was a few that stood out to me a little bit. My guy Dalladay's number was short. I was pretty surprised.
Interesting.
It was supposed to 600 for him to hold the belt at the end of the year.
You could see him go on a run. That's your guy.
He's about to fight Vettori.
Yeah.
If he fights Vettori, he's
but that's a great fight. I can't wait for that
If he beats
fight.
Vettori, he pretty much he could just be next.
Yeah.
Especially with. Well, I guess we'll have to see the problem now. If I decided he had won, he almost would have definitely.
Umar's up to minus 900 against Barcelos, 6-1. People are like, is Barcelos hurt or something? Because Umar opened minus 210, minus 220.
That's great.
And
that's
then
the classic Nurmagomedov.
It's a very MMA Twitter thing. It's these people will track their bets at the open, and then everybody was getting very mad at that. But that's a very niche MMA Twitter, MMA gambling Twitter thing. But Umar's up to minus 900. I mean, obviously, I think Umar's going to win, but minus 900 is steep, man. That's 90%. You're implying a beatdown, and Barcelos isn't bad.
No.
Is there anybody else you like on the card, Ev? Nascimento's back.
Yeah, he's just I do like him. He's just a big favorite.
Basharat, we've seen. Basharat, I like. He's the guy from Iraq. Then went to.
He was on the Contender Series. He's very good.
And then he was the one who fought when his friend or his brother fought at the same time.
And they informed him afterwards.
Felder was he won.
Wasn't he the one who the guy said the racist shit to him?
Yes, it was.
On the Contender Series, and then he just beat the brakes off him?
I think it was I think it was it was Palestine versus Israel on the Contender Series.
In the face-offs for Contender Series, he was saying some racist ass shit.
Yeah.
And then he just got his ass beat.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
Which you always love to see.
Yeah, which is great.
Just instant karma. You love that.
Either way. We're not taking a side there.
Even take racism out of it. Someone says anything super disrespectful in a face-off. There's videos from non-UFC stuff of like instant karma, like
Yeah,
someone tries
instant
to get someone
karma.
to
Yeah,
flinch or whatever.
there's probably like YouTube
Oh,
compilations
it's
that
the
are
best.
awesome.
There are.
It
There's
is
ones
the
that be
best.
like when shit talking goes wrong.
Yes.
Like blah, blah, blah.
I cannot get enough of those videos. I'll go down a rabbit hole for hours of shit talking goes wrong.
My favorite one to watch is always just the Masvidal Askren,
yeah,
because everything Askren says, like in hindsight, is just so funny.
Yeah.
Like he's like, Masvidal's gonna do nothing to me.
You know, it was listen.
Like
I like Ben Askren. I don't mean for this to be a shot at Ben Askren, but I saw who was it? It's KSI on Helwani show, and he was like, "Do you believe Jake Paul's gonna go like fight an MMA fighter?" And he said, I think he'll probably go fight that wrestler who did horrible in the UFC. He was talking about CM Punk. I thought he was talking about Ben Askren. I was like, and I was like, oh, that was a bad mix-up. Like, damn. But
also, I love if you want to talk about like a guaranteed banger of a fight, like somebody's getting knocked out, the Claudio Ribeiro and Abdul
Yep.
Razak,
Yeah.
like somebody's getting knocked out very fast.
I'm excited. I mean, it's great to have the cards back.
what time is it too? It's a normal time,
It's
right?
a 4 p.m. Like,
oh, it's 4. Okay.
I believe 4 p.m. Like prelims.
Prelims
4
7 p.m. main
I
card.
believe so.
I actually like that time, so I'm happy.
And
with
next
that,
week is Brazil,
Yeah, the week
Yeah.
after is Brazil.
which is
should
sick
be fun.
card.
We'll be
Yeah.
back for that, of course.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like the video if you made it to the end. Comment after the fact helps us and all that. And tell your friends about Spinnin Backfist this year.
Yeah, big year.
God bless. Having fights back is so nice. It's been so long.
I know.
So long.
It's been like a month. December 18th or 17th or something.
Yeah, I think 17th.